There is a sacredness to your breath, not merely as a function of the body, but as the whisper of the infinite moving through form. Each inhale is a soft echo of the divine saying, "You are alive." Each exhale a quiet surrender, a letting go into the boundless now. And in this rhythm, in this invisible, ever-present dance between taking in and releasing, lies your doorway to truth. You may have been taught that prayer is something spoken, recited, directed upward to some distant power. But I invite you now to remember something older, something truer. That prayer is not a thing you do. It is what you are when you become fully present. When you align with the breath, not just as air, but as awareness, you enter the temple of this moment. And in that temple, everything becomes holy. Let every breath be a prayer, not out of ritual, not from duty, but from remembrance, because you are not separate from Source. You are an extension of it. The breath does not belong to you. It moves through you. You do not command life. You are animated by it. And the moment you stop trying to master this experience and instead merge with it, the fear begins to dissolve. The striving quiets. The ego's demands grow still. And what remains is something eternal. Something soft and wide as the sky. The self beneath the self. The presence that watches without judgment, loves without condition, and breathes without asking. You have searched the world for peace only to discover that peace cannot be found. It can only be remembered. And it is remembered not in the achieving, not in the running, but in the stillness, the space between thoughts, the hush between heartbeats. That is where God lives, not in the thunder, but in the silence after. Not in the lightning strike, but in the calm that follows. There is a wellspring of wisdom within you that no book, no teacher, no guru can replace, because your soul is not behind. It is not waiting. It is not broken. It is simply buried beneath the noise. The noise of proving, the noise of becoming, the noise of seeking a home that was never outside of you. Let every breath be a prayer of remembering, a prayer of returning. You were never meant to carry the weight of a world. You were only meant to walk through. You were never asked to become anything. You were invited to unbecome everything that is not truth, not love, not light. And as you release those layers, not with effort, but with grace, what reveals itself is not a better version of you, but the real you. The you that was here before the name, before the pain, before the striving, the you that has always been enough. The ego will argue. It will panic in the silence. It will say, you must do more, be more, prove more. But the soul does not scream. It whispers, and it says only this: you are whole. Be still. Breathe. When you breathe with intention, the mind softens, the body realigns, the heart remembers its rhythm. And in that remembrance, you return to your natural state, not of tension, but of trust. Not of grasping, but of flowing. Not of fear, but of surrender. You are not the roles you've played. You are not the wounds you've survived. You are not the labels the world has stamped upon your back. You are the space in which it all arises, the awareness that watches, the love that remains. Let every breath be a prayer of forgiveness, not toward others, but toward yourself. For all the years you spent believing you were not enough, for all the ways you judged your own reflection, for every moment you thought you had to earn your right to be here. Forgive it, bless it, let it go like smoke on the wind. Because the truth is, you are not here to strive, you are here to shine. Not with the fire of ambition, but with the glow of alignment. And that glow does not come from what you do, it comes from who you are when you finally stop pretending. When you drop the mask and stand naked in your own presence, what you find is not shame but radiance, not fear but freedom. And that freedom does not come in the absence of struggle, it comes in the presence of truth. And truth, real truth, is always simple. You are already divine. Breathe that in. You are not separate. You never have been. The stars that burn in distant galaxies share their matter with your bones. The same intelligence that spins planets spins the cells of your skin. You are the cosmos in motion. You are the formless made form. Let every breath be a prayer of surrender, not of giving up, but of giving over the illusion of control, giving over the belief that you must know how it will all unfold. You do not need to know. You need only to trust the one who breathes you. This trust is not weakness. It is the highest strength. It is the strength that says, even when I do not see the path, I walk it. Even when I do not understand the plan, I open my heart. Even when I am afraid, I breathe. To live in trust is to live in the now. And the now is the only place healing occurs. The past is gone. The future is imaginary. But this breath, this one is real, and it is sacred. Let it anchor you to the only place where God can meet you. Here, not tomorrow, not later. Now, let every breath be a prayer of gratitude. Not because everything is perfect, but because everything is present. Because in this moment you are alive, your heart is beating, your lungs are receiving the gift of life. And even if the world outside is storming, the stillness within remains untouched. Gratitude is not a reaction, it is a recognition, a holy acknowledgement that every breath is a miracle, that this moment is enough, that you, just as you are worthy of love, of peace, of rest. You are not broken. You are breaking open. You are not lost. You are being rerouted. You are not behind. You are being prepared. Everything is unfolding in divine time, and your only task is to stay awake, not awake in mind alone, but awake in soul, awake to the beauty, awake to the blessings, awake to the breath that carries God in and out of your body like waves upon the shore. Let every breath be a prayer of coming home. Let your breath lead you deeper now, not into thought, but into being. For beneath the thinking, beneath the planning and the remembering, there is a place untouched by time, a sanctuary not built by hands, but by presence. And in that sanctuary, you discover not an answer, but a knowing that does not shout or declare, but hums quietly, like the earth beneath your feet, reminding you of your origin. You were not sent here to figure it all out. You were sent here to feel, to taste, to weep, to wonder, to marvel at the fact that out of all possibilities, life chose to breathe through you. Not as a random flicker in the dark, but as a purposeful flame, glowing with intention. The soul does not ask you to be perfect, it only asks that you be available, open, willing to feel what is here without fleeing from it, willing to be seen without shrinking. Let this willingness become your new way of walking. Let it soften your pace. Let it open your eyes to the holiness hidden in the mundane, the way light filters through a cracked door, the way your own heartbeat keeps time with the wind. These are not accidents, these are invitations. And the more you accept them, the more the ordinary begins to shimmer with the extraordinary. You have been conditioned to seek peace as a destination. But peace is not waiting on the other side of achievement. Peace is not the prize for fixing all your flaws. Peace is the path. It is the place within you that never needed anything to begin with. When you rest in that place, you do not become passive, you become powerful in the quietest, most transformative way. You begin to radiate instead of reach. You begin to listen instead of defend. And in that listening, life speaks. It does not speak in language. It speaks in alignment, in ease, in the soft sense of yes that rises from within without needing to be justified. It speaks through synchronicities, through gut instincts, through the sense that even if nothing makes sense, everything feels right. This is the compass of the soul, not rigid, not predictable, but always true. Let your life become less about managing outcomes and more about following the sacred inner compass. Let your next step emerge not from fear, but from love, not from habit, but from presence. And presence is never in a rush. Presence is not checking clocks or comparing calendars. It simply is. And in its stillness, it moves mountains, not by force, but by grace. Let go now of the idea that there is somewhere else to be, that there is someone else you should be, that there is a standard to meet before you can rest. That illusion has robbed you long enough. The truth is simpler, kinder. The truth is you are the miracle already unfolding, not tomorrow, not when you improve, but now, in this breath. And as you breathe, know this, you are not missing anything. You are not lacking anything. What you seek is not absent, it is waiting, patiently, lovingly, for you to pause, to be still long enough to receive. For all the wisdom in the world cannot enter a clenched heart. But the moment you soften, the moment you say yes to what is, the moment you stop racing against life It rushes in, not to fix you, but to reveal you. Let every breath be a prayer not of asking, but of allowing the mystery, allowing the not knowing, allowing the fullness of your experience without editing it to make it acceptable, because your truth does not need approval to be holy. Your tears do not need a reason to be sacred. Your joy does not need a purpose to be valid. You are not here to be understood by the world. You are here to understand yourself so fully that you no longer need the world's validation to feel real. And this understanding, this sacred intimacy with your own essence, begins with stillness. It begins with the breath. It begins with the quiet decision to stop running not from others, but from yourself. So be here now. Inhabit this moment as if it were your only home. Because it is. The past is a dream you've already woken from. The future is a fog not yet born. But this breath, this beating heart, this feeling is alive. And in its aliveness, everything you've been chasing is already present. There is a still river flowing beneath the noise of your thoughts. And this river knows exactly where it is going. It does not need a map. It does not resist the rocks. It does not fear the bends. It simply flows, effortless, timeless, trusting. And so must you. For when you learn to surrender like the river, when you stop gripping the banks of certainty, life begins to carry you not away, but home. You have been taught that safety is found in control. But control is the tension of the ego. It is the illusion that you must hold everything together or it will all fall apart. Yet have you noticed? The trees do not control the wind, and still they dance. The stars do not control the sky, and still they shine. And the heart does not control its own rhythm, and still it beats. What if the safety you long for isn't found in tightening your grip, but in loosening it? To trust life is to trust that you are not separate from its intelligence, that what you feel as intuition is not just instinct, it is the divine speaking your native tongue. The whisper of God is not a thunderclap. It is the knowing that comes when your mind quiets and your soul begins to speak. And it is always speaking. The question is not whether God is guiding you. The question is, are you listening? Let every breath be a prayer that says, I am listening, not with your ears, but with your being, listening to the spaces between events, listening to the nudges, the aches, the longings, for they are not obstacles, they are oracles. They are not symptoms to be silenced, they are signals to be honored. Even your pain has a purpose, especially your pain, for pain is the chisel of the soul. It carves away the illusions that you thought were essential. It strips away the masks you thought were your face. It breaks the shell, not to punish, but to release. And what it releases is not more pain, it is more light. You do not need to run from what hurts. You need only to meet it with presence, with reverence, with the quiet courage to feel what is there without the armor of analysis. Because feeling is not weakness, it is alchemy. And when you feel fully, without defense, something ancient begins to dissolve. The wound becomes a window. The ache becomes a door. And what walks through is your truth, unguarded and whole. This is not a path of becoming more. It is the sacred undoing, the holy unraveling of everything that is not you. And it is gentle, and it is relentless, and it is love. Let your breath soften your resistance. Let it enter the corners of your body where fear has settled. Let it touch the parts of you that you've kept hidden even from yourself. There is no judgment in breath, only invitation to return, to feel, to remember. There is a presence in you that has never been afraid. It has watched every heartbreak, every triumph, every choice, every regret, and loved you through them all. This presence is not improved by your victories, nor diminished by your failures. It is the eternal yes behind every no the world has ever given you. And it waits. It waits not to punish, not to lecture, but to welcome you back, the way the shore welcomes the wave, the way the sun waits each morning without fail, asking for nothing in return but your openness to see. Let every breath be a prayer of return, not to an idea, not to a belief, but to yourself, to the living, breathing truth beneath the armor, to the being you were before the world taught you to perform. That being is not buried deep, it is just beneath the next exhale. It is what remains when the thoughts subside and the present stays. You do not need to strive to reach it, you need only to stop reaching. The moment you stop trying to earn what is already yours, grace begins to flow. Not because you summoned it, but because it was always there, waiting for your permission to be received. And when you receive it, when you truly let it in, not with your mind, but with your body, your breath, your surrender, the entire fabric of your reality begins to shift, not externally, but existentially. You stop asking, what is my purpose? And start living as if your existence is already the answer. You stop wondering if you are enough and start living as if you never weren't. This is not arrogance, this is remembrance. And remembrance is the most sacred act of all. You are not a small flame in a vast darkness. You are the light itself. You are not here to escape life or rise above it. You are here to merge with it, to bring heaven to earth, not through doctrine, but through presence. And when you are present, fully, nakedly, unapologetically present, you become the prayer. You become the healing. You become the answer to the very question you thought you had to ask. So we begin again, not as a return to the same, but as an arrival at a more spacious self. You are not the same as you were a moment ago. The breath that met you then has dissolved, and this new breath carries its own frequency, its own message, its own medicine. Let it enter, not as oxygen, but as light. Let it move through the tight spaces where hope once hid. Let it wash the dust from the corners of your heart. This is how we heal, not by effort, but by softening. We live in a world addicted to noise. Every silence is mistaken for emptiness, every pause seen as lack. But there's a silence within you that holds more wisdom than 1,000 spoken truths. It is not the silence of nothing, it is the silence of everything. The unspoken knowing, the space where you no longer strive to be seen because you are finally witnessing yourself. In that space, you are not waiting to be chosen, you are remembering you were never unchosen. There is no need to become louder to matter more. Your power is not found in the volume of your voice, but in the depth of your presence. The most transformative energies move without sound. Watch how a sunrise alters the entire sky without speaking a word. You too can shift everything not by what you say, but by what you are when no one is asking anything of you. Be the presence that calms without trying, the presence that blesses simply by existing. You are not created to be decoded or simplified. You are not a riddle waiting to be solved. You are a living paradox, soft and strong, tender and eternal, breaking open and yet unbreakable. And your wholeness does not require anyone's understanding to exist. The tree does not justify its bending. The river does not explain its curve. They simply honor the truth of their own flow, and so should you. Let go of the need to narrate your becoming. Let the transformation happen in the unseen, where roots deepen and light finds its way into forgotten places. Let it be holy not because it is witnessed, but because it is real. The most sacred shifts are often invisible to the eye, but undeniable to the soul. Trust that. You are not here to convince. You are here to embody. You are here to become such a pure expression of inner alignment that your presence speaks louder than any attempt at articulation. And when that happens, you do not shine for applause, you shine because it is your nature to shine. So be where you are, not to analyze it, not to escape it, but to inhabit it, fully, gently, honestly. There is something sacred about a life lived from the inside out. It does not bend to the pace of the world. It does not measure itself against timelines. It trusts its own timing. It honors its own rhythm. This is the rhythm of your breath, the drumbeat of now. Let it guide you into this sacred remembering. You do not need to arrive anywhere else to be whole. You do not need to be seen differently to be sacred. You only need to breathe where you are, and let that breath be enough. You have walked through lifetimes in a single lifetime. You have carried burdens that were never yours to begin with, words that cut and stayed long after they were spoken, silences that echoed louder than shouts, expectations that wrapped around your spirit like chains, asking you to become something other than your truth. And still, you stood. You kept walking. You kept breathing, not because it was easy, not because you always believed you could, but because something within you, something holy, refused to extinguish the flame. There is grief within you, even if you've never given it a name. Grief not only for what was lost, but for what was never given. The love you didn't receive, the apologies that never came, the parts of yourself you abandon just to belong. And it is okay to mourn those things. It is not weakness to feel the weight of them. It is sacred. It is honest. It is healing. The soul is not asking you to pretend those wounds do not exist. It is asking you to stop identifying with them, to see them not as who you are, but as what you've passed through. They are not the core of your being. They are the dust on the mirror. And even if that mirror has been fogged by years of pain, the reflection beneath it remains untouched. Let yourself weep if you must, not from despair, but from release. There is no nobility in holding it all in. There is no strength in silence that crushes your spirit. Cry, if that is what brings you back to truth. Let the tears soften the soil around your heart so that new life may rise. Forgiveness, too, is part of this path, not always for them, but for you, for the part of you that thought you had to keep proving, for the part of you that thought you weren't allowed to rest until the past made sense. Let that version of you sit down now. Let them exhale. Let them feel what it's like to not carry the story anymore. You are not the pain that happened to you. You are the awareness that held space for it. You are the space between the bruises, the witness, the seer. The one who endured, yes, but also the one who is now free to release the identity of the one who endured. You do not have to live as a monument to what went wrong. You do not have to keep rehearsing the story of your suffering as if it is the only truth you have. Your story is not your prison, it can be your passageway, but only if you are willing to loosen your grip on it. Only if you allow it to be rewritten by love. Let every breath be a prayer of liberation. A release of the past, not from erasure, but from reverence. Thank the pain for what it taught you, and then walk on. Thank the heartbreak for opening what nothing else could reach. Thank the closed doors for leading you inward. Every loss, every delay, every unanswered longing was a sacred detour, a redirection, not a rejection. You are not here to live in the shadows of old seasons. You are here to rise unshackled. And that rising does not need to be dramatic. It does not need to be loud. It can begin with something as simple, as profound, as one conscious breath. A breath that says, I choose presence over punishment. I choose truth over performance. I choose love over memory. And love, real love, starts within, not as a concept, but as a daily return, a return to the self that was never broken, a return to the still point within you that has never been touched by trauma, that has only ever known how to love, how to shine, how to simply be. Yes, now we reach the final bend in this river of remembering, where the current slows and what once felt separate comes back together. There is no grand conclusion here, no ending marked by trumpets or fanfare. Only a sacred arrival, a quiet exhale into what has always been waiting. You are not stepping into something new. You are stepping into what is real. The journey was never about acquiring more. It was about shedding what was never yours. Not about becoming someone else, but unbecoming everything you were told you had to be. And now, with the weight of the past gently released, with the breath as your companion, with silence as your sanctuary, you begin to feel what freedom truly is, not an escape, but a homecoming. Freedom is not the absence of responsibility or emotion. It is the ability to feel everything and still remain grounded in truth. It is the willingness to stand inside the storm without becoming it, to cry without drowning, to love without clinging, to live without needing a script. And this is where your soul stretches wide, no longer curled in defense, but unfurled in trust. Not because you know what comes next, but because you no longer need to know. The river does not need to see the ocean to keep flowing. The flower does not ask the sky for proof before blooming. And you, beloved soul, do not need permission to shine. The light you carry was lit by something eternal, and it cannot be extinguished by the shifting winds of this world. Let every breath be a prayer, not just now, but always. Let it be the way you touch the sacred. Let it be the rhythm that returns you when the mind runs wild. Let it be the anchor when fear knocks at the door. Let it be the reminder that presence is your power and peace is your inheritance. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not incomplete. Every step you've taken, even the ones that felt like detours, have led you to this moment. And this moment is not ordinary, it is holy. It is the point where your soul chose to return, where you dropped the armor, where you unclenched your spirit, where you finally said yes to life, to love, to yourself. You are not your name, not your pain, not your past. You are the infinite, wearing form for a little while. You are the breath of the divine, made visible. You are the silent witness behind the noise, the unchanging sky behind every weather, and nothing, no mistake, no failure, no forgetting can alter that. So stand now in your truth, not with defiance, but with devotion, not to prove anything, but to offer everything. Let your presence be your prayer. Let your smile be your offering. Let your being be your message. And when the world tries to rush you, return to your breath. When doubt knocks, breathe deeper. When grief stirs, breathe softer. When joy rises, breathe fuller. Let the breath carry it all. Let it sanctify every moment. Let it remind you again and again, you are not becoming the light. You are the light. And in your light, may others remember their own. In your stillness, may others find rest. In your truth, may the world begin to heal. For you are not here to fix anything. You are here to be a living invitation, to walk as presence, to love as awareness, to breathe as prayer. And so it is. There is a sacred whisper beneath the noise of the world, a gentle pull in the chest, a stillness between your thoughts that speaks not in words, but in remembrance. And if you will only be quiet enough to hear it, you will remember what you have always known, but have forgotten in the thunder of becoming, that you are not a stranger to this life, nor a seeker of distant light. You are the light itself, cloaked for a moment in flesh and time, but eternal beyond every measure. Before you had a name, before the world told you who to be, you were. And what you were then, you still are now. Untouched by the tides of approval or the winds of failure, there exists within you a place so holy, so untouched by the world, that no sorrow can stain it and no joy can improve it. It is whole, not because it has everything, but because it is everything. But you forgot. You forgot as the world taught you to look outward. You forgot as you became the roles you were praised for. You forgot as you sought to belong in places that required you to become someone else to be accepted. You wore masks not because you were false, but because you believed it was the only way to be loved. And each layer you added in the name of survival took you further from the remembrance of your soul. And yet, you've never truly been lost. The truth of you has never wavered, never wandered. Like the sun behind the clouds, it has waited with unwavering patience for you to return, not by traveling, not by achieving, but by unbecoming, by letting go, by surrendering the noise and standing naked in your being again. You see, you are not your story, not the pain that shaped you, not the wounds you carry, not the mistakes you made when you forgot your light. Those are passing clouds. But you are the sky. You are the vastness behind the weather, the silence behind the sound, the stillness in which all things rise and fall. And when you remember this, not as a thought, but as a truth that vibrates through your bones, everything changes. You stop striving to become and start allowing yourself to be. You stop chasing love and start realizing you are love in form. You stop fearing death because you remember that what you truly are cannot die. Rumi once said, "You were born with wings, why prefer to crawl through life?" And I ask you now, beloved soul, what wings have you hidden in the name of safety? What songs remain unsung within your heart because the world convinced you to be quiet? You are not here to be small. You are not here to be good in the eyes of a broken system. You are here to radiate, to be a living transmission of the divine. Not someday, not when you're healed or enlightened or ready, but now, in this breath, in this moment. The great lie of the ego is that you must earn what you already are. It tells you that worth is found in effort, in accumulation, in the eyes of others. But the soul has no interest in applause. It seeks only authenticity. It wants not to perform, but to remember. And in that remembering, it comes alive. You are not a human being reaching toward the spiritual. You are a spiritual being having a temporary human experience. Your essence was not born, and it cannot die. It came from source and remains connected to it. No matter how tangled your mind has become in the dramas of form, there is nothing you must do to be worthy of love. There is nothing you must fix to be complete. You have spent enough years trying to become someone. Now is the time to return to no one, to dissolve into the I am that needs no embellishment. Jesus said, "The kingdom of heaven is within you." Not above, not beyond, but within. And yet, how often do we search for it in things that cannot hold it, in relationships, in accomplishments, in possessions. We climb mountains only to find the treasure was always buried in the ground of our own being. The soul doesn't ask you to add, it asks you to subtract, to strip away every identity you've worn that was never truly yours, to lay down the armor that you mistook for personality, to stop performing and simply start existing. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that watches them. You are not your body. You are the life that animates it. You are not your past. You are the presence that outlived it. And if you are still enough, even for a moment, you will feel it. Not as an idea, but as a truth so radiant it makes you weep. A sense of home that needs no location. A peace that passes all understanding. You don't need more information. You need more stillness. You don't need more answers. You need deeper surrender. You don't need more becoming. You need radical being. The Tao teaches us that the way to do is to be. And so I invite you now to stop doing for a moment. Just be. Breathe. Close your eyes and feel the life within you, not the story, not the narrative, but the aliveness that pulses through your cells. That aliveness is sacred. It is the divine in motion. And the more you dwell in it, the more your life will reflect it. Not because you've controlled it, but because you've aligned with it. There is a rhythm to life, a sacred unfolding that cannot be forced. You don't need to push the river. You only need to stop fighting the current. Let go of the need to know. Let go of the need to win. Let go of the need to be anything other than what you are. And what you are is love. Not a love that needs reciprocation, not a love that needs to be earned, but a love that simply is because it cannot be anything else. A love that forgives before the apology. A love that shines regardless of the weather. A love that says, I am here, I always have been. That love is you. When you begin to live from this space, this holy interior, you find that the world softens its edges. Not because the world itself has changed, but because the lens through which you view it is no longer clouded by fear. You begin to see with the eyes of the soul, and in those eyes, everything is already enough. The stranger is no longer a threat, but a reflection. The hardship is no longer punishment, but initiation. The silence is no longer empty, but full of presence. And yet, the ego will return. It always does. Like waves on the shore, it will rise with old stories. You must do more. You must be more. You are not enough. But now you are anchored. Now you recognize the voice not as truth, but as an echo from a time when you forgot, and you no longer have to believe it. You can let it speak and simply not follow. The ego shouts, the soul whispers, the ego demands, the soul allows, the ego competes. The soul includes, and the more you listen to the whisper, the louder your life will speak in beauty. You'll notice that peace no longer needs to be earned. It emerges naturally like light through an open window. You'll notice that joy no longer depends on outcomes. It is found in the simple act of presence. Washing a dish, holding a hand, feeling the wind move across your skin like the breath of the universe. You are not meant to live in striving. You are meant to live in surrender, not passive, but receptive. Receptive to what the divine has been trying to give you all along, once your hands stop grasping and start opening. Even your pain, especially your pain, holds an invitation. For what is pain if not the soul's call for deeper attention? It is not a punishment. It is not proof of failure. It is a crack in the shell of your illusion, making way for something deeper to be felt. The broken heart, the loss, the disappointment. These are not the end. They are the beginning, the sacred doorways through which grace can finally enter. You do not need to avoid your suffering. You need to embrace it, hold it, let it speak, not with your mind, but with your presence. Your presence is the balm. It does not fix, but it heals. It does not rush, but it stays. It does not analyze, but it sees. There is a you beyond the storm. There is a stillness deeper than the pain. There is a presence behind every shadow, patiently waiting to be known. And that presence is who you really are. You are not what happened to you. You are not what others see. You are not your thoughts or your history or your name. You are the one who has been watching it all. The one who stood in the fire and didn't burn. The one who walked through the sorrow and kept walking. The one who even now feels the pull of something greater. That pull is not a fantasy. It is the echo of your original truth. And your truth is not small. It is not conditional. It is not dependent on anyone's approval. Your truth is eternal. It was spoken into being by the same force that paints sunsets and gives breath to stars. Do you know how sacred you are? Not because of what you do, not because of what you accomplish, but because of what you are. A wave remembering it is the ocean. A flame remembering it is the Sunday. A being remembering it is divine. When you live from this truth, you no longer seek validation from others. Their praise or rejection becomes like wind across the surface of the lake. It ripples, yes, but it cannot disturb the depth, because the depth is yours, because the depth is you. And when others speak from fear, you meet them with compassion, not because you are better, but because you remember. You remember what it is to forget. You remember what it is to believe the lie of separation. And so you do not judge, you bless. You do not defend, you shine. This is the real revolution. Not a battle against the world, but a quiet uprising within it. A rising into presence, a rising into truth, a rising into love that asks for nothing and gives everything. And this rising, it changes everything. There will be moments on your path, quiet, aching moments when the loneliness returns, when the voice of the world grows louder than the whisper of your soul, when doubt cloaks the truth in shadows. And in those moments, you may question. You may wonder if the light within you is ever real or just a beautiful illusion in the vast wilderness of longing. But even in that darkness, something endures, a pulse, a flame, a knowing that cannot be undone by fear or time. This is the truth of you, the place that cannot be touched by circumstance. It is not your body. It is not your name. It is not even your mind. It is the silent observer behind it, all the witness that has watched you grow, stumble, rejoice, grieve, and keep going. That witness is unshakable. That witness is eternal. That witness is you. You may try to run from pain, but your soul will always find you, not to punish you, to call you home, to remind you again and again in the breathless stillness between your struggles that what you seek is not relief, but remembrance, not escape, but embodiment, not a new version of yourself, but the real one, the one that was never broken, never missing, never not enough. And so you begin to see that life is not here to wound you, it is here to refine you. Every heartbreak, every challenge, every lost hope was not the end of your story, but the alchemy of awakening. You were not being punished, you were being peeled open. And in that opening, the divine could finally reach you, not as a distant deity, but as the very essence of your being. For God is not far. God is not above. God is not elsewhere. God is within, closer than breath, closer than thought. And once you taste this truth, not intellectually, but intimately, it ruins you for anything less. You can no longer pretend to be small. You can no longer betray your essence for the comfort of fitting in. You can no longer numb yourself with distractions when the soul demands depth. You begin to crave silence the way others crave noise. You begin to value presence more than performance. You begin to measure success not by what you accumulate, but by what you release fear, shame, masks, expectations. And in that release, you rise. Not in the way the world glorifies, not in titles or trophies, but in softness, in clarity, in love. You become a sanctuary, not just for yourself, but for others. Your presence becomes a refuge, a place where others feel safe enough to set down their own mask. Because when you remember who you are, you give the world permission to do the same. And what greater offering could there be? Not to impress the world, but to heal it. One presence at a time, one breath at a time, one remembering at a time. But healing is not always beautiful. It is raw. It is messy. It asks you to meet yourself in the shadows, to hold the parts of you that were once abandoned. And yet even this is holy, because nothing about you is unworthy of love. Nothing. Not your anger, not your sorrow, not your doubts. Everything you feel is valid. Everything you are is sacred. You do not need to be perfect to be divine. You only need to be honest, to stand in the light of your own being and say, here I am, all of me, no more hiding. And when you do, when you surrender the performance and embrace the presence, something miraculous happens. You stop fearing life because you no longer see life as something happening to you. You see it as something happening for you. You begin to dance with it, not resist it. You begin to trust it, not control it. You begin to feel a sacred intelligence moving through everything, the pain, the joy, the silence, the noise, and you recognize it as your own reflection. The separation dissolves, and in its place, oneness. Not the concept, but the reality. A living, breathing oneness that doesn't need to be explained, only felt. A love that doesn't need to be earned, only remembered. A self that doesn't need to be improved, only revealed. You stop striving, because there is nothing to strive for. You are already whole. You stop comparing, because there is no one to compare yourself to. You are already enough. You stop searching, because the destination was never somewhere else. You were always it. You just forgot, but now you remember. To live from this place of remembrance is not to float above the world untouched. It is to move through it fully awake, to laugh with the whole chest, to cry with reverence, to love without needing a guarantee, to feel not just for yourself, but for all beings who have ever yearned for a home they did not know was inside them all along. You begin to see with the eyes of the sacred. A withered tree becomes a teacher. A broken cup becomes a poem. The ache in your chest becomes a doorway. Everything becomes symbolic. Everything becomes holy. Why? Because you are no longer looking with the eyes of the ego, which divides, labels, and evaluates. You are looking with the eyes of the soul, which see not the thing, but the presence within the thing. Not the form, but the formless that animates it. And you realize at last that what you are is the same as what animates the stars. You are not in the universe. The universe is in you. Every drop of longing, every moment of grace, every flicker of love you have ever felt, it was all the same voice, speaking through different moments. And that voice is you remembering yourself. You no longer need to chase miracles. Your breath is the miracle. You no longer need to pray for something to arrive. You become the answer to your own prayer. And life begins to shimmer again. Not because it's always easy, but because you've stopped demanding it to be. You've made peace with what is. You've stopped fighting the moment. And in that surrender, the peace that once seemed so far away arrives and sits beside you like an old friend. Suffering begins to fade. Not because pain disappears, but because your relationship to pain transforms. You are no longer the wound, you are the witness. No longer the reaction, you are the response. No longer the victim, you are the vastness in which even this moment belongs. And when someone hurts you, you do not harden, you soften. Not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. You see their actions not as reflections of your worth, but as reflections of their forgetting. You do not condone the behavior, but you also do not collapse into resentment, because you know who you are. And when you know who you are, you cannot be shaken by someone who has forgotten who they are. You are the unmoved mover. You are the still point in the center of the turning world. You are the eternal in the temporary, the sacred in the mundane, the light in all forms. And still the world may test you. It may pull at your old habits, provoke your old wounds, tempt you back into forgetting. But now you have tasted the truth, and the truth cannot be unlearned. Even when you drift, and you will return more quickly. You will notice sooner. You will feel the discomfort of pretending and say, no, not this, not again. And so the journey deepens not outward, but inward. Not into effort, but into intimacy. You begin to walk slower, speak softer, live fuller, not because you're trying, but because you're remembering. And this is the most beautiful thing of all. You no longer need to know what's coming. You no longer need to predict, plan, or prove, because you trust the unfolding. You trust the moment. You trust yourself, not the small self, but the sacred self that knows the way home in the dark. And that trust, it sets you free. Free to love without armor. Free to speak without fear. Free to exist without apology. Because who you are truly is enough. It always was. It always will be. There is a moment in the quiet when all doing ceases, when the world stops demanding your attention, and in that moment, something sacred rises. Not with fanfare, not with words, but with the soft insistence of presence itself. It rises not to announce itself, but to remind you there has never been a separation. Not between you and love, not between you and source, not between you and the life you came here to live. It was only your forgetting that made the distance feel real. And now, your remembering begins to close that imagined gap, not through force, but through the grace of awareness. Not through change, but through return. Return to the space between breaths. Return to the wisdom before words. Return to the self that was never touched by success or failure, gain or loss, praise or rejection. There is a sacred intelligence in every cell of your being and knowing that was formed before language, before time. You do not need to earn your way back to it. You need only to listen. Listen not with your ears, but with your being, with the same stillness that the stars hold as they burn silently across the sky, with the same reverence that the moon keeps as it watches the tides come and go, because within you too is a tide, a sacred rhythm, rising and falling, calling you home not to safety, but to authenticity, not to certainty, but to truth. And truth, when it is felt, no longer needs to be defended. It simply is. Like the sun does not argue with the night, like the mountain does not explain its silence, like the river does not justify its course, truth moves with grace because it knows its own roots. And your roots are not in your history. Your roots are in eternity. You do not grow from what you've done, you grow from what you are. The tree does not become itself by studying other trees. It becomes itself by trusting the seed, surrendering to the soil, and reaching into the light that has always called its name. So too with you. The way home is not through comparison, it is through courage. The courage to stop mimicking and start remembering. The courage to stand still in a world addicted to movement. The courage to feel deeply in a world that numbs. The courage to be whole in a world that profits from your fragmentation. And this courage, it is not loud, it does not shout, it does not demand an audience. It is quiet, sacred, and real. It moves like a prayer through the body. It breathes like trust through the heart. It speaks only when silence has said all it needed to say. And from this courage, your life begins to bloom, not like a firework, but like a flower. Not suddenly, but inevitably. Because that's what truth does. It does not rush. It does not strive. It unfolds. You do not have to push. You only have to open. And when you do, life moves through you, not as something to be controlled, but as something to be danced with. You stop clenching. You stop planning your joy. You stop outsourcing your peace. And you begin to live as you were always meant to, freely, fully, faithfully. Not because you followed someone else's map, but because you finally threw the map away and listened to your own feet. There is a voice beneath your thinking that never left you. It has been whispering since the beginning. You've heard it in the quiet between heartbreaks. You've felt it in the sacred pause before a decision. You've known it in the way your heart quickens in the presence of what is real. That voice is not your imagination. It is your invitation. It's not asking you to understand. It's asking you to remember and to trust that remembrance more than you trust the noise. Because the world will offer you many identities, most of them built on fear. But only one is true. Only one brings peace that does not depend on anything outside you. Only one can look at the chaos and still know, I am whole. That one is who you really are. There is a sacredness in moving slowly, in letting life reveal itself rather than demanding it perform. The world will try to convince you that speed is power, that acceleration is purpose, that to rest is to fall behind. But the soul knows otherwise. The soul knows that truth cannot be rushed. That becoming is not the goal, being is. That peace does not arrive through urgency, but through presence. And when you begin to slow down, truly slow down, you start to hear again. Not the voices of expectation or obligation, but the voice that was always there underneath. The voice of intuition. The voice of inner guidance. The voice of God, not as something outside of you, but as the quiet knowing within you that has never once left your side. You may have ignored it. You may have overruled it. You may have drowned it out with busyness and logic and doubt, but it never stopped whispering your name. And what is it saying? It is saying you are already what you long to be. You are not unfinished. You are not broken. You are not waiting to become. You are being asked to allow the fullness of what you are to emerge, not with effort, but with surrender. The rose does not bloom by pushing. It blooms by opening. The ocean does not move by striving. It moves by yielding to the moon. And so too with you. You were never meant to battle your way into wholeness. You were meant to remember that wholeness was always your home. There is an intelligence in you older than time, a consciousness deeper than thought, a presence more vast than space. And when you let that guide you, you stop chasing clarity and start embodying it. You stop needing answers because you start living the question. And in that living, answers come not through thought, but through resonance, through knowing, through an inner yes that is not logical, but undeniable. You are not here to build a life that looks good. You are here to live a life that feels true. You are not here to win the approval of the world. You are here to walk in alignment with your soul. And the path of the soul is rarely straight. It winds, it twists, it loops back. Because its goal is not efficiency, its goal is embodiment. To embody who you really are in every step, in every breath, in every conversation. Not perfectly, but authentically. You may fall. You may forget. You may find yourself in old patterns, old fears, old doubts, but you will not be lost. Because the soul never forgets the way home, and it will call you back again and again. Through every ache, through every joy, through every quiet moment that makes you feel like you've returned to something that has no name but feels like everything. This is not a journey of fixing. This is not a journey of becoming. This is a journey of unveiling, peeling away what you are not, so what you are can finally breathe. And what you are is not a role, not a title, not a success story or a redemption arc. You are presence. You are awareness. You are the open sky holding every weather, without judgment, without resistance. And when you live from that sky-like self, the storms may come, but they do not define you. You hold space for them, you let them pass, and in their passing, something deeper is revealed. Not a new version of you, but the original one, the one who was never hurt, never lost, never broken. The one who watched it all with eyes of love and said, even this is part of the path. You see, the soul does not need the path to be clean, it needs it to be real. And your realness is your liberation. And so here you are, not at the conclusion of a journey, but at the dissolving of the illusion that there was ever a distance to travel. Not reaching a summit, but laying down the burden of believing you had to climb anything at all to be worthy of the light that has always burned within you. This breath, this presence, this pulse of truth in your chest is not the aftermath of awakening. It is the essence of who you've always been. You were never the story. You were the space in which the story was told. You were never the striving. You were the stillness watching the striving unfold. You were never the name, the role, the identity that shifted with time. You were the I am behind it all. And now you remember, not with your mind, but with your being. Not through effort, but through surrender. The tides of fear no longer sweep you away because you have become the ocean. The winds of doubt no longer uproot you because you have found your roots not in thought, but in awareness. The opinions of others no longer imprison you because you have returned to the truth that you are not here to be approved, you are here to be real. And what is real does not need defense. It does not need explanation. It does not need applause. It simply shines. And that shining, that quiet radiance, is the natural expression of one who has ceased resisting their own light. No more pretending. No more waiting. No more postponing your own presence for some imaginary future where you will finally be enough. You are enough now. Because enough was never a measure. It was a remembrance. A falling back into the arms of your own soul and hearing, not in words, but in the depth of your being, you are already it. You are already home. You are already whole. You always have been. And now, the seeking softens. Not because it was wrong, but because it brought you here. The journey was never a mistake. The forgetting was never a failure. Even the pain had its purpose. It cracked the shell. It thinned the veil. It led you back not to a new version of yourself, but to the one who never left. And from this place, from this sacred awareness, you begin to live differently. You walk with reverence, not rush. You speak with presence, not performance. You love with freedom, not fear. You bless the moment not because it is perfect, but because you are present within it. And this is the miracle. Not that you have changed, but that you have remembered. And what you have remembered is eternal, that you are not a drop seeking the ocean. You are the ocean, remembering yourself in the form of a drop. You are not a soul chasing the divine. You are the divine, wrapped in the illusion of form. You are not lost. You are not late. You are not lacking. You are light. You are here. You are free. And so I say to you now, not as a lesson, but as a recognition. Live gently. Speak truthfully. Forgive completely. Love boundlessly. And above all, remember who you really are. Not just when it's easy. Not just when you feel aligned. But in the mundane, in the mess. In the moments that test your peace and tug at your old masks. Remember then, because those are the moments when remembrance becomes liberation. And when you remember not just in thought, but in embodiment, you become a beacon. You don't need to preach. Your presence becomes the sermon. You don't need to save. Your stillness becomes the sanctuary. You don't need to fight. Your truth becomes the flame that lights others home. This world does not need more doing. It needs more being. It needs more souls who remember, and now, beloved, that soul is you. So rise not with force, but with grace. Move not from fear, but from alignment. Shine not to be seen, but because it is your nature to glow. And when the world forgets, as it often does, simply remember for it. You are the breath of the divine made visible. You are the silence between the stars. You are the unshakable presence in which all things come and go. And you are here now awake. So let the story fall away. Let the striving soften. Let the remembrance deepen. You are not here to find the light. You are here to remember you are the light. And you always have been